So hello everyone. So the topic of this talk will be Actionaz 3, automation for everyone. So first, what do we want to, what is actually the meaning of automation? Because that's a word that's used in many contexts. In that case, it's software automation. It's a software automation tool. That means that it's most often used in games, software validation, business applications. So it's not like software that you can use to test your program. I mean, you can do that, but it has a wider, broader range of users. So it works as scripts, and scripts contain different actions, and actions can be mouse clicks, key presses, window management, actions, file access, etc. And there are 46 different actions. So for everyone, because you don't need to learn any new programming language to use it, you just have to drag and drop the actions, and that allows non-programmers to use that tool and automate some actions. But it's still developer friendly because you can enter some JavaScript code in the parameters of the actions, and that JavaScript code will be evaluated when the action is executed. So it allows you more customization, and you also can write an entire file in JavaScript using the classes that are provided by Actionaz. So you can really write only in JavaScript if you want to. So let's see a short example. Here I have a script, and on the left side we can see this is the main, of course, the main window of Actionaz, and you can see on the left the different actions that are available, and at the center you can see the list of actions, the script that I've added here, and with a line number that you can write. You can write a label if you want to, name of the actions, and some comments if you want to explain what this action does. And on the right side you have a console where the execution errors will be printed, and you can also write some text there if you want to debug. And so let's see the first action. It's a variable action. Here we will create a variable named FOSDEM URL, and it's a string. And here you can see that there is a small red triangle. It means that the text I've entered here is not regular text, it's JavaScript. So here, in that case, I create a simple string, and I use a JavaScript function to get the current year. And that all of that builds a string that contains the URL to this lightning talk. So the goal of the whole script, I don't think I've said it, is to show, to open a browser, Firefox, and to show a page of this lightning talk. So, and the next action is a detached command, because you can run, of course, commands, and in that case, we run the command Firefox, and we use a parameter here, and you can see that here it's not JavaScript, it's regular text, but you can insert in regular text a variable. Here it's FOSDEM URL, and it starts with $, like in PHP. So it allows people who don't know how to program in JavaScript to insert some basic variables in text. Then we have a window condition. The idea of that is to wait for a window with a specific title to appear, or there are, of course, other conditions, but in that case, we have the title is FOSDEM, and you can see there is a star before and after, because you can use some wildcards if you want to have the title, in that case, where the title contains FOSDEM. So we wait until it exists, because if it's true, that means that we found it, we do nothing, that means that we go to the next action. And if it doesn't exist, then we wait. So the script execution will block on this action until we found that window. And then we have a pause. Of course, we make the pause. That's amazing. For 1 second. So that's cool. The next action is more interesting. It's a find image action. Here, this allows you to search for an image, either on the screen within a screenshot, or within another action, or within a window. That uses some the OpenCV algorithm, and here we search on the screen for image called FOSDEM, and it's image here. So it's the FOSDEM logo because we need to search that on the browser, and we store the result, the position we found, in a new variable called FOSDEM position. Then there are 4 other actions. I don't detail each one of them because it will take some time, but the idea here is to move the cursor on the position we found, and then scroll the wheel to scroll to get down on the page, and find the Actionaz text here, and then click on it. And that works. Should work. So yeah, a bit of history. I started coding Actionaz in 2005 because a friend wanted to play a game where he had to click often on something, and well, it was written in C++. That's not a typo, it's really C++ because it was horrible. It was some kind of strange mix between C and C++. So it's a freeware. Source code is not available because it was so horrible. It used the MFC. Okay, so in 2006 I rewrote the whole stuff, and I used WX widgets, which was quite cool, and it was still freeware. So in 2009 I rewrote for the second time the whole program. Now it's in C++, and it uses Qt. So now it also works on Linuxes. Okay, so then platforms and license. It works on GNU Linux-based distributions. There is a package in the Debian official repository. So it's easy to install on Debian, Ubuntu, Mint, etc. It should work without any problems on other distributions, but I don't have any package for them. So if someone is interested, of course, I will be very interested to have packages for these platforms, of course. It also works on Windows, XP, and newer. And it's free software. It's released on the GNU GPL license. So now some architectural stuff. There are 2 programs. One is called Actionaz. It's the main program with a window where you can edit your scripts and add some actions, and also you can start them. But there is also a second program called Exec, which is a small program without any interface that allows you to execute a script. It's used also on Windows, because on Windows you can make some SFX script, which is actually 7-zip archive that is auto extractable. So you can run a script on a computer where Actionaz is not installed. I haven't done that for Linux because I don't really see the interest in that, and it will be a bit more complicated, and I don't know if there is really a need for that, but that could be done, of course. Actions are in packs, and each pack is a plugin, so it's easy to write new actions. Each action could be a plugin, but the idea of the packs would have to share some dependencies between the actions in one file. That was the main idea. 90% of the code is platform independent because it's Qt, so it's really not a problem to port that to a new platform. The 10% are, of course, some specific stuff like emulating a click and things like that, which don't exist on Qt. So that's depend, of course, of the operating system, but it's a code which is not it's not really separated from the rest. That's really a problem. But I have a plan to put that somewhere which could be more easier to port that to new platforms. So of course help is needed because there are lots of new ideas, lots of improvements, some bug fixes that could be done. For instance, for the new ideas, there is a script resources idea, and the basic idea of that is to take a file which a script depends on, for instance, an image that you want to find, and to encode that in base 64 and include that in the XML of the script file. I have already done some coding for that, but it's not finished yet. A script recording, the idea of that is to allow to have a button when you can click, and it will record the actions you do and automatically add them. It mainly works for clicks and keyboard actions. The problem with that is that there is no cross-platform way to store a key. It's really complicated because each platform has its own ways of storing them and defining them. So that's actually more tricky than it seems. There is also an idea to wait for input. The idea of that is to say we want to wait for the user to click or to press any key, and it should work even if Actionaz, of course, doesn't have the focus. So on Windows it works, for instance, it works by making a hook. And yeah, the sound recording, that's obvious. A task planner, the idea of that is to have some program running all the time and waiting for some conditions to be fulfilled and execute one or more scripts. And of course, the next idea would be to parallelize execution of scripts because, yeah, and that of course has there's some issues with that, because what happens if one script wants to move the mouse to one position, the mouse cursor, of course, not the mouse itself, and anyway, another one wants to do the same, what happens then? So that could be a problem that has to be solved. And the other idea is to make a script database that allows users to upload scripts and download scripts from others. Of course, there will have to be some checking for the scripts, because a script can potentially do anything on your computer. So it's better if it's not some evil stuff. So yeah. And other things, web actions. The idea would be to execute some actions on a web page using JavaScript. There are, of course, more specific software doing that, and of course, probably much better. But the idea is to have some basic stuff to do that. Qt 5, of course, would be a good idea. Usability improvements, documentation. There is already some reference documentation, but tutorials would be a good idea. Packaging, there is a packaging for Debian, but it would be nice to have some packaging for other distributions. Macintosh would be a good idea. I don't have one, so if someone wants to, of course, it's really welcome. If you need more information, there is a website. There are 3 different mailing lists, 1 for developers, 2 for users. The source code is available on GitHub, and yeah, that's everything. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, FOSDEM, of course. And if you have some questions, I will be outside near the door. Thank you.